Life and Teaching of the Masters of the Far East by Baird T. Spalding, Volume 3. Forward. Dear reader, you are not only a reader but a friend whom I have met face to face and conversed with, just as you have met and conversed with each of the characters in this book. I'm certain they know you and look upon you as a close friend. They surround you with the full glory of the divine light of life, love, and wisdom. And by surrounding you thus, they aid you in your understanding. They enfold you in the ever present divine light of love, life, and wisdom, which is theirs to send out and to give. They see you always enfolded in this omnipresent divine presence. They see you seated on your own throne as a true king or queen, ruling through and by this divine presence. They envisage you knowing and accomplishing your divine mission, always alive, always peaceful and happy, always the divine you. They see not only you, but the whole human family, divine and pure, and every created thing or form as divine, created in the image and likeness of the divine. Not one, nor one sect, nor one creed, but all, and that all inclusive. None can appreciate these great people save those who have been admitted to the quiet of their sacred places and thoughts. They live truth, which is a part of the universe itself. Life is really traceable back into the misty past, which bears to us the accomplishments of hundreds of thousands of past centuries. To us, life is bound about by every limitation and convention. To them, life is boundless, ceaseless, unending bliss and happiness. The longer the span of life, the greater the joy, and the more worthwhile the living. None that understand and love these people can doubt their teachings, neither can he doubt their true sincerity when he has partaken of their hospitality. The Western world looks to the outer, thereby touching the hem of the garment. The Eastern puts on the robe, but not as a garment that may be laid aside. The West polish the vessel of the lamp. The East fan the flame that is may give forth a more intense light. The West look to the outer with longing eyes, back of which is the glow of spiritual vision, the seeking of true knowledge. The East knows that flesh must be illumined by the light of the flame that is first kindled from within, then allowed to shine forth to the without as the full blaze of the noonday sun. The West name themselves material. The East live truly in the allness of spirit. They behold each and every one living by compelling, impelling, sustaining spirit. It matters not what the location, be it in the great snows of Alti Himalaya, the busy modern city, or the most secluded monastery. That which to the Western world seems miraculous and unbelievable is to the poised Hindu thought the natural outcome of the acceptance and the bringing forth of spirit, that which is set forth as God in manifest form. They that are fully alive know full well that there is far more than that which comes under the personal recognizance. In fact, there is much more than ever has been dreamed of in any philosophy. Therefore, there are no apologies offered for this book or for those which have preceded it. When you look longingly with a clear vision toward an accomplishment, it is your divine heritage to command that you place yourself in such a receptive attitude that the ability is already yours to bring forth your ideal. God speaks through the God man today, just as God has spoken down the long ages. The knowledge which the people in this book convey is by no means new, although the presentation brings a new light to the Western world. The main object of their lives is to give knowledge and enlightenment to humanity through pure knowledge aflame with love. Their great mission is to pave the way toward peace and harmony through man's great power to accomplish. They are the greatest friends of true science, religion, and philosophy, and they proclaim these as well as all men, brothers, as truth is one. Thus science becomes the golden thread upon which the pearls are strung. The day is here in which the large portion of humanity has already outgrown the old concept of divinity. They have lost their faith in teachings based upon faith alone. They have learned that to be good in order to gain a heavenly reward after death is a fallacy, a very low ideal. This idea of being good for the reward's sake and for the special privilege of playing harps and singing psalms forever. They have realized that this is an expression of self-interest only and completely foreign to the teachings of Christ of God, the God-man fully alive. The idea of death is foreign to, in fact, it is a direct contradiction of, the divine purpose and is not in accord with the law of the cosmos or its vibrant radiations. Neither is it in accord with the teachings of Jesus. The church and the graveyard are often in same field. This alone is the direct acknowledgment that Christian teachings have not been even comprehended. The Christ man has spoken, and the listening ear has heard. If a man believes in me, he shall never die. The God man knows that the one who is in sin or lives with sinful vibrations surrounding him dies, and unto him the wages of sin is death. But the gift of God to the God man is eternal life. God made manifest to God man in the kingdom of God here on earth, the human body perfect in the flesh. When man lives true to the God vibration and the holy in that vibratory thought. The people in this book have taken God out of the realm of the supernatural and of superstition and have placed him wholly in the vibratory frequency, knowing that as they keep their bodies in the divine vibration, they never grow old and never die. When the vibrations of their body are lowered or allowed to slow down, death ensues. In fact, these people know that when the mistake of death is accomplished, the body is vibrating at such a low rate that the emanating life vibrations are actually crowded out of the body temple, and that those vibrating life emanations will hold together and maintain the same form which the body had when they were crowded out. Those emanations have intelligence and still revolve around the central nucleus or sun, which attracts and holds them together. These emanating particles are surrounded by an intelligence emanating that assists them to keep their form, and from which they again draw substance to erect another temple. This is indirect accord and works in complete harmony with the intelligence that has been built around the body during their life cycle. If that intelligence vibrates at a low frequency, or in other words, is weak, it loses contact with emanations of life and energy that have been forced out of the body, or form of clay after the life emanations have left it, and the emanations finally disperse and return to the source, then complete death is accomplished. But if the intelligence is strong, vibrant, and active, it takes full charge immediately, and a new body is instantly assembled. A resurrection has taken place, and through that resurrection man is perfected in the flesh. Not all can hear except such a revelation. He that hath ears to hear, let him hear. Mark 4:9. He whose understanding is developed sufficiently is able to comprehend. Thus, large portions of humanity are developing a science through which They are again discovering that God has always lived in man and with humanity. Yet they for a long time have not known God. They have only lost sight of the God man. To those of whom I have written, I dedicate this book as well as the books that have been published. At the feet of these near and dear ones, I lay my deepest respect and gratitude, and in no way do I feel that I'm conferring upon them the honor due them. We went doubting, we left with greatest regrets, loving them, everyone, feeling that we had gained a truer and deeper insight into the science of life and true living. Signed, Baird T. Spalding. Chapter 1. After those assembled had departed, my associates and I stayed on, loath to leave the place where we had witnessed such a transformation. No words can describe our feelings and tremendous uplift of those last hours. The words, all for one for all, blazed forth as vividly as when they first appeared. We did not talk, we could not say a word, although we were in the same general position until daylight. We had no sense of being confined in a room. Our bodies seemed to emit a brilliant light, and wherever we walked we had no sense of limiting walls, although just previous to the experience we were in a room hewed from solid rock. There did not seem to be a floor under our feet, yet we moved freely in any direction. Words absolutely fail to describe our thoughts and sensations. We even walked beyond the confines of the room and the cliff, yet we had no feeling of being hampered. Our garments and everything about us seemed to radiate a pure white light. Even after sunrise, this light seemed brighter than that of the sun. We seemed to be in a great sphere of light, and we could look through this crystal ray and see the sun as it appeared far away, shrouded in a haze. It actually seemed cold and uninviting compared with the place where we stood. Although the thermometer registered 45 degrees below zero, and the country was covered with snow that sparkled in the morning sunlight, in the place where we were there was a consciousness of warmth, peace, and beauty that surpasses expression. It was one occasion in which thoughts could not be put into words. Here we stayed for 3 more days and nights with no thoughts of rest or refreshment. There was not a sign of fatigue or weariness, and as we looked back upon the time, it seemed as if it passed in an instant. Yet we were conscious of each other's presence and of the passing of the hours. There was no sunrise or sunset, just a continuous glorious day, not a vague dream, but every moment an actual reality. And what a vista of the future opened before us! The horizon seemed to be pushed back into eternity, or, as our chief expressed it, it seemed to be expanding into the boundless and eternal sea of throbbing, pulsating life. And the great beauty of it all was that it was for all to see and know, not for just a few, but for all. On the fourth day, our chief suggested that we go below to the room of the records in order to again take up our work of translation. Upon making the move to proceed, we found ourselves standing all together in the room. I can but let the reader picture our astonishment and joy. We had moved 2 stories down and accomplished 2 flights of stairs without the least physical exertion on our part and without the least knowledge of the accomplishments. Yet there we were in the room among the records where we had been working. It was all aglow with light, the place was warm and cheerful, and we could move anywhere we wished without the least effort. When we took up one of the tablets and placed it on the convenient place for study, its context and meaning were translated to us perfectly. When we began writing these translated conclusions, suddenly a whole page of manuscripts would be filled with the text in our own handwriting. All we need to do was to place the pages together in manuscript form. In this way, we finished manuscript after manuscript of these translations. By 2 o'clock that afternoon, we had finished and filed 12 manuscripts of over 400 pages each, and we experienced not the least fatigue from this pleasant occupation. We were so engrossed that we were unconscious of the presence of others in the room until our chief stepped forward with the greeting. We all looked up to see Jesus, Emile, our hostess, and Chandler Sen, the man of the records, whom we had at first called the old man of the records, but whom we now knew as the young man. There were also Bagat Arand and a stranger to whom we were introduced as Ram Chandra. We later learned his familiar name to be Budra. A table was cleared and prepared for a meal. We sat down, and after a few moments of silence, Jesus spoke. Almighty and all-pervading Father Principle, which shines forth ever triumphant from within us out to all the world and is the light, love, and beauty which we are experiencing this day and which we always experience if we only will. We bow before this altar on which burns the undying fire of perfect love, harmony, true wisdom, unending devotion, and pure humility. This sacred light shines steadily on, undimmed from within the souls of those who are now gathered at this, the altar of true fatherhood, sonship, and devoted brotherhood. This divine light thus shines forth from these near and dear ones, out and out to the most remote places of all the world, that all may see its great light and may experience its undimmed and unquenchable love. The rays of this all-pervading light, beauty, and purity shine through the receptive souls and hearts of those who are gathered at this, your altar. We are now conscious of these all-consuming and embracing rays of love, and we send them forth, and they transmute, blend, and harmonize all mankind. It is the true and the pure cries of love standing forth from each and all, and we salute and stand face to face with, equal to, one with God. Again, we salute God, our Father, right within and standing forth. After Jesus ceased speaking, we all arose upon the suggestion that we return to the room where our former experience had taken place. As we started toward the door, we realized that we are already there. This time we were conscious of moving, but not conscious of the cause of locomotion. As soon as we expressed that desire, we were actually in the upper room. Although the shadows of evening were well advanced, our way was perfectly lighted, and we found all aglow with the rich beauty and effulgence that had been there when we departed. The reader will recall it was in the room we had just left that Chandler Sen returned to us after being brought back from what we took up on as death. To us, that room was a shrine, and it seemed aglow with all possibilities, a sanctified place where we ourselves had been able to step forth to a greater accomplishment than as mortals we had previously known. From that time till April 15th, the day of our departure, not a day or a night passed that we did not all meet together for at least 1 hour. During this time, the room never again assumed the appearance of solid rock. It seemed as though we could always see through those walls into infinite space. It was in that room that the bonds limiting consciousness were removed. It was there that the great vista of the future opened to us. We all sat down at the table and Jesus resumed the conversation. It takes a true motivating thought, focused on a central absorbing point or ideal to bring forth or accomplish, and you, as well as all mankind, can become that motivating center. Not one thing comes forth unless man first expresses the ideal. At one time, man was fully conscious that he was this motivating center and lived fully conscious of his inheritance and dominion. He lived consciously in a condition that you term heaven. All but a few have let go of this divine gift, and today The great majority are absolutely unconscious of this divine quality, which is mankind's true inheritance. What man has done once, he can accomplish again. This is the principle back of the endless array of life and manifestation that you see all around you and includes your own life, together with that of every existing thing, as every existing thing has life. Here, long science will give you ample grounds for saying that things are not material, as science will soon see that all things can be reduced to one primal element containing innumerable particles universal distributed, responding to vibratory influences, and all in perfect and absolutely equilibrium or balance. Hence it follows on mathematical grounds alone that it took some definite movement, some initial action to draw together the infinite particles of this all-pervading universal natural substance in order to bring them into form as selective objects. This power did not originate wholly within a particle, but is a power greater, yet at one with the particle and you, through your thought and definite action cooperating with the vibration, give selectivity to these particles. Thus will physical science be compelled to understand through necessary deductions so that scientists will recognize the presence of a power which at this time is not understood because it is inactive, and which is inactive only because it is not recognized. But when recognized and communed with by men and brought into actual expression, it is fully capable of separating certain specific areas for the specific display of which universal cosmic energy. Then there is built up what you look upon as a material universe with all its different manifestations by an orderly process of evolution. If orderly, then each stage must lay the foundation perfectly for the greater development of the stage that is to follow. If you can accomplish progress in perfect order and harmony of thought and action, you are in actual accord with power, and this power brings forth on an unlimited scale the faculty of selecting the means to an end. You distribute life and energy under a recognized order of cosmic progression. This then is not a material universe as you have thought. That is only your definition of it. It came forth from spirit and it is spiritual, if you will define it as such. This is orderly, true, basic. If orderly, it is scientific. If scientific, it is intelligent. It is life united with intelligent life. Life coupled to and guided by intelligence becomes volition, and through volition it becomes vocation. Spirit is the primary vibrating, originating power, and you may enter into spirit and use this power by the simple acceptance of knowing that it does exist. Then let it come forth and the whole of its spirit as it your command. To you it becomes an ever potent spring of perpetual and original life right within yourself. This does not take long years of study, nor need you go through training or hardship of deprivation. Know and accept that this vibration does exist, then let it flow through you. You are one with great creative mind, substance, thus you know that all things do exist. If you will but see that divine principle, great principle, good principle, God principle is all there is, that it fills all space, is all, then you are the principle, and as you stand forth in your Christ dominion and give out this principle, you, by your very thought, word, and act this principle greater activity. Thus one more has found his dominion and is using God power and sending it out. As you give out this power, it flows to you. As you give, more is pressed upon you to give, and you will find you cannot deplete the supply. This does not mean going into a closet and hiding yourself. This is getting quiet right where you are, even in the busy so-called turmoil of life, under the most trying circumstances. then life is not turmoil, it is quiet, contemplative, and compulsive. The outer activity is as nothing compared with the greater activity that you now realize and are one with. This is getting quiet right where you are, seeing God standing forth from you, closer than breathing, nearer than hands and feet, with your whole thought, action centered on God. Who is God? Where is God that your whole thought action is centered or focused upon? God is not a great being outside of you that you are not going to bring within and then present to the world. God is the power which is generated and exhilarated by your own thought action. It is true that this power is within and all about you, but it is inactive until you think of it and know that it does exist. Then you see it flowing forth from you in limitless measure. You present it to the world, and the world is benefited from your presentation. You yourself must present the accomplishment by putting forth the driving force of all good, God your Father, the power to accomplish behind every thought and act. Now you are God fulfilling or filling full the accomplishment. This is God, the true and only God standing forth from you. You are then God the Father, the husbandman, the amplifier, and the projector, the definite and positive accomplisher. It is then that legions fly to do your bidding. The moment you say wholeheartedly, with reverence and deep meaning, that God is in his holy temple, and know that this temple is your pure body, just as you present it, and as you truly stand today, that you, the true Christ, live one with God right within the temple, and that your exalted body is a holy abiding place, a whole and all-inclusive abode. You are an energizer, an all-including and outpouring vessel for this true and divine principle to flow through. Then you pour out more and more of the God which you are and which you love. You worship, you praise, and with your ever-expanding love, you pour out to all mankind that they may see the Christ, the God-man standing forth triumphant. Now you say with the keenest joy, whosoever will, let him come and drink deeply of the waters of pure life. Those who do this will never thirst again. This power you are using and sending forth in God, the Son accomplishes readily that the Father accomplishes. This is also being humble too and bowing before this great power. This is true humility, stepping forth in humble mien, one with your own driving force and power. By constantly contemplating, praising, blessing, and giving thanks to this power, you increase its flow, and as you do this, it becomes potent and more readily accessible to you. Thus say, pray without ceasing. Your daily life is true prayer. By first knowing that this power does exist, then using it with absolute confidence, you soon become wholly conscious of it. You soon know that it is all inclusive in and through you. If you will but let it flow, it will rush to you in every instance. It flows to you as you let it flow from you. Stand forth as God and give it out. This is God your Father in you and your Father are one, not servants but sons, sons of first primal cause. All that I am has is yours, for you are I am. It is not I who do the work, it is I am in the Father, and the Father in me brings forth the great accomplishment. As you know that you work one with the Father, there is no limitations, no boundaries. You know it is your divine right to accomplish all things. Then follow me only as I follow the Christ, the true Son, the only begotten of the Father. And as I bring forth and present God, I do bring forth God from within. Then will it be said, all are God. The greatest sermon ever given is Behold God. This means seeing God standing forth in all glory right within and from you, and from all others also. When you behold God and nothing else but God, you love and worship God and God alone, you truly behold God. You are the Lord, the lawgiver, the dispenser of the law. When you pray, enter your closet, the secret chamber of your own soul. There pray to your Father within, and your Father who hears. Thus reward you openly. Pray and give thanks that you are able to give forth more of God to the whole world. Does this not give you a higher and more lofty outlook, a broader perspective, a nobler idea? Here the talk ended. We all arose from the table, and our friends bade us good night and departed. We stayed on for a time and talked over the experiences, then decided to return to our lodging in the village. As we arose, we thought immediately presented itself. How are we to proceed without a light? And all except the chief's voices thought. Then he said, "You can see how definitely habit fixes itself upon us, and how desperately we cling to old ideas. Here we are, completely immersed in light. It has not dimmed because of the absence of those we have grown to love so dearly. Is this not an occasion where we can set forth and show our own self-reliance, our own ability to be and to accomplish the things that we have experienced? Let us at least extend this to ourselves and have the courage to take the step toward the accomplishment. We are learning so hard upon our wonderful friends that it actually hurts to have them leave us for a moment. I can see, as they already know, that if we do not become self-reliant in these small things, we will never accomplish the larger things. And I do not doubt for an instant that they have left in order to give us the opportunity of proving the accomplishment. Let us rise to the emergency and be above it. As we started, one of the party suggested that we meditate on the method of procedure, but the chief in a firm voice said, "No, if we go now. After what we have seen and experienced, we must act and make these acts definite, or we do not deserve any consideration." Whereupon we proceeded down the stairs to the different rooms, through the tunnel and down the ladder to the village. As we walked along, our way was completely lighted. Our bodies seemed without weight, and we moved with the utmost ease. We arrived at our lodgings, overjoyed by this accomplishment. From that time on until we left the village, we traveled where we pleased without artificial light. Our lodgings lightened up as we entered the rooms, and the warmth and beauty surpassed any power of description. We retired almost immediately. Needless to say, we did not awaken till late the next morning. End of chapter 1.